You see those spars up there in the rafter? Those were salvaged from aircraft 50, 60 years ago, and they're still there. Back then, there was a massive General Aviation fleet in the United States. The largest number of General Aviation aircraft the world will ever see. It was so prevalent, people of all walks of life and all income levels participated. And if you wrecked your aircraft, you could go to places like this and get parts for it and fix it. And you would fix it, or a friend of yours would fix it at your local airport. Skills were abundant. Aircraft were abundant. Today, not so much. A lot of people in the antique field haven't realized it yet, but the flying we know of, the flying we knew, the flying we grew up with, it's gone. There are still holdouts, but once Scott has a plane for his collection, and Walt has a plane for his collection, and Kermit has a plane for his collection, if it's an expensive antique aircraft, there's no market for it. This is going to be painful for a lot of people. For many years, the people that I looked up to, the generation ahead of us, what everybody kind of knows as the old school antiquers, they taught us about being caretakers of these aircraft. Unfortunately, they were so busy enjoying the planes that they were restoring, they didn't really take care of the foundation that allowed us to have antique aviation. Now a lot of our parts suppliers are gone. You can't get parts for aircraft. Some of the most common engines you can't get parts for. A lot of those companies were sold to China. A lot of them went out of business. Some of them claim liability issues. You name it, there's an excuse for it. But whatever the case may be, the aviation we knew growing up is gone. The reason I'm discussing this is when Henry Ford offered the Model T, people driving horses and building carriages refused to believe that the end was there. And in a very few years, the horses were gone, the carriages were gone. It was all gone. And a new reality existed. However, there are still some places where you can go and have carriages built. They're specialty places. They're little pocket holdouts in different locations. The market is minuscule compared to what it was. However, if you're in the carriage business, the last man standing still had business because it didn't go all the way away. It just went away. This is the problem I'm trying to resolve with this airport. These fields are vanishing. Now you have a lot of individuals trying to build their own fields, and they're doing their part. But ultimately, as aviation becomes more expensive, it gets harder to keep these planes in the air. All of those are going to consolidate down to little pockets where it survives. That's what I want to happen here. But how do you do that? That's the question. How do you make sure this is one of the last men standing in the competition? And that's what it is, because when it's gone, it's gone. And if you aren't standing at the end, you're never coming back. So that's our goal. How do we make this place survive to the point that it's one of the few where there's enough market for it to survive? That's what we're going to have to answer over the next year. Honestly, I'm just getting tired. I have taken care of this place for almost 30 years. I have added to it, improved it. Ginger and I have held massive events. We've built it up, and then we've walked away from it for a few years. But the question is always there. How do you make sure it survives? How do you make sure? And really, you can't be sure. But what is obvious is one person can't do it. One person doesn't have the energy, enough passion, enough money. They just don't. If you look elsewhere in the world, it's already happened. In the UK, for example, people will argue that General Aviation exists, but it is infinitesimal. You have Shuttleworth, you have Duxford, you have a few big places, and really outside of that, it doesn't exist. There are planes, there are people flying, there are people who are hardcore, who will not let go and keep it going. Love those people. There will always be those people. Yet, General Aviation in those places is, for all practical purposes, gone. And that's where the United States is heading. People need to wake up to this reality. It's a shame because places like this are just incredible. They really are holdouts of yesterday, but they're also, massive green spaces. Look at this. And yet the people who are working every day to eliminate aviation are the same people who claim to love places like this. It's all phony. What they're really after is the freedom that comes with flying. Look around if you find somebody complaining about airplane noise, somebody who complains about the airport. If they're complaining about anything related to flying, if they're doing anything to restrict it, if they're on your local airport board, they are anti-freedom. They're doing everything they can to do away with it. Because flying sets you free from their bullshit. And they do not like that. It's one of the reasons we call this place the Aviation Refuge. We always knew this day was coming, just like a large area of swamp is a refuge for waterfowl. Eventually, as the environment for aviation narrows down to a few pockets, it's where everybody who still loves aviation will go. And that's the best thing I can see for this place, is to attract those people and put them in charge of its future. My time with the airport is coming to an end. It's not tomorrow, it's not next year, but I can tell you I can see it on the horizon. I couldn't leave the place, but it's time for other people, younger people, to start doing their part, to start saving these places. And there's not many young people that can do it. It requires a passion, it requires ability, and honestly, sadly, it requires money. There's no good way to attract all income levels and keep this place alive. God, that sounds horrible. I realize that sounds bad, but the only way everybody's going to enjoy places like this is if it's kept alive. And the only way it's going to be kept alive is with passion and money. Passion and money makes the world go round. Now, we can try to make it as economical as possible. We can try to do people favors and make it easier financially. However, even if we do that, the next people who are responsible for this place are going to have a passion for this that is irrational. It's just got to be irrational. It's got to be obsessive. It's got to be everything about them. And that's not good because they'll burn out. And that's the pattern over and over and over. People start these places, they love it, they work to death, they burn out, and it goes away. It's one of the reasons we walked away for a few years. That's part of it. That's the reality. I'm not sugarcoating it. But there are ways to keep this alive, and our goal is to do that. So, if you're somebody who sees yourself in a place like this in the future, you should let us know. One person can't do it. One voice against government is no voice. I mean, this place is going to need 10, 20, 30, 50 people involved, invested in its future. Hopefully we can find those people.